This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorYou and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, happy Publishing Day to all of you. And here we are at the end of the first month of the new year, which I find just a tad stunning. I'm back from the annual Publishing at Sea conference, which was awesome. 37 authors were with us. We had amazing ventures, amazing workshops. So it was even really more fun was just the book signings that we do on board and to see the fun that all the authors have in interacting with people from all over the world who are buying their books. I mean, how many can say, I am an international book signing event? But that's what we do. So with us today, though, to take us into the international world of publishing is someone who I've been delighted to have in the past on the show. Robin Cutler is the Director of IngramSpark, an Ingram content group service for the indie author and publisher. She's committed to helping independent publishers get their content into the hands of readers everywhere, in every part of the globe. To help make this happen, she continues to support and refine the IngramSpark platform to better serve the indies, that's us, around the world. Starting her publishing career over 30 years ago at a university press, she has founded her own publishing house, Summer House Press, so she's one of us, and has published more than 1,000 titles in her career. Before joining the Ingram Content Group, Ingram Content Group, kind of brought that all together. Robin worked for Amazon and the formerly CreateSpace. So please welcome back to AuthorYou, your guide to book publishing, Robin Cutler. She's someone who really knows publishing at all levels, from the beginning to the exit. Hi, Robin. How are you?
Hi, Judith, and Happy New Year to you and your listeners.
Hey, yeah, it is stunning for me to still think that we're in 2019 now. And, you know, it used to be the old day when you transitioned into a new checkbook, and so few of us use checkbooks now that, you know, it took almost several months to start going from one year to the next.
Isn't that the truth? Can you believe? I don't know what happened to 2018. It just seemed like we were just having it, and
yeah.
You know, now this is a year behind us, and now we have 2019 to look forward to.
And who knows what's going to happen this year?
I know. Hold on to your seats, right?
Who knows what's going to happen in this year? You know, although I will tell you what I am confident is that Ingram will be around. How's that sound?
Ingram will definitely be around in 2019 and 2020, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of mainstay. And Ingram, for all of you that are listening in, Ingram is a portal where you want your books available. So what we're going to be talking about today through IngramSpark is that portal that makes bookstores not turn up their nose at hearing that you're an indie author or an indie publisher. And if you've only been going through Amazon, I always tell people this is a big mistake. You've got to either double dip or you start with one and then consider the other. But Robin, we can get into that, right?
Well, what I love about you, Judith, among other things, is that you do just such a great job of educating authors about the business of publishing. I think you have one of the best educational programs around as far as that goes, and helping them to do the number one thing as authors, which is to create a professional book that they're going to put into the marketplace. And that really is the key to, in my mind, to success as an author.
I agree actually with that. So I guess maybe, Robin, we could start off the show with a crazy list. The things that make us crazy that we see about some of these books.
Yeah.
And I can actually tell you that in the old days, when people would say, "Oh, I have my book," and we'd look at this book, and this is before I was really doing direct one-on-one consulting. And in my head, I was going, "Oh my God, what were these people thinking?"
Yeah.
And we wouldn't, and I wouldn't verbalize it then. Now I have
Mhm.
no problem saying that, and just saying,
Yeah.
you need to go back and rip off this cover and start over.
Yeah, and it to me it's the define. It's not even that hard, to be honest with you. The difference between a professional and one that's just kind of thrown together. It's easy for a bookseller, for a library to spot one that doesn't look like traditionally published books, and and it's not even that hard. So what I advise people is, just go to the bookstore, go to a library, or even your own bookshelf at home, and pull off, a traditionally published book, one, by Random House, Penguin, whoever. It can be a university press. It can be any traditionally published book, and just look at the way the book is organized. I started my career, Judith, as a book designer. And a book designer, helps a reader sort of be able to digest content that author, has created. And so the way that the book is kind of organized has been handed down for hundreds of years, and it's in that order for a reason. So oftentimes the first thing I'll do is open a book, and I will say even a children's book, where there isn't a title page. On the title page is the title, the subtitle. It also tells who published the book. And that information is really important for librarians and for booksellers, and it just sets the stage for the whole book. But often I'll look at a book and there's no title page. And then on the back side of the title page, when you flip that title page over, and the title page is usually either the first or the third page of the book. When you flip over that title page, that should definitely be where you find the copyright page. And oftentimes you won't see that. You won't see a copyright page in a book. And to me, that's one of the big flags on a self-published, unprofessional book.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is the huge telltale to me. That it doesn't have ISBN, it doesn't have LCCN, or it doesn't say at least it's pending. There's no information, there's no categories. I'm going, what are these people thinking?
Yeah. And then, and you alluded to this earlier, Judith, besides the interior of the book, make sure that it's organized in a proper way, that you don't have space between the lines, and then again another space between paragraphs. That kind of thing drives me crazy. But probably the number one thing is the cover, and I know you teach a lot on good cover design and how important that is. It's just really important that you think about your cover not only as it would look on a shelf, but how it also looks very small, like an inch or two small as it's going to appear online. Your cover needs to look good, big and small, and have eye-catching font design, images, whatever. But clearly tells the story of what's inside that book.
I know, and you said big and small. Here's a tip I'm going to give to all of you. When you get back a cover design from anybody, and since Robin came from the cover design field, my suggestion for all of you is to immediately reduce it to 25% of whatever the size is. Reduce it down to the thumbnail to see, is it readable? Can you see it? Did you use a screwed up font that may have looked great at 200%? But it doesn't. Those are all so important. to get in, because the cover's the beacon light, everybody. The cover's your beacon light for your book.
Yeah.
So does it say, come to me?
And one of the trends, Judith, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but the trend these days is for a short cover, a title. A short title that can really stand out on a cover. I think I've heard that that it's better to keep it under 80 characters altogether, your entire title. So that's something that I think your listeners might want to key in onto as well.
Robin, does that include the subtitle, or is that the main title?
The main title, yeah. Right,
so,
the main title.
So here's what we're telling all our authors: we want it less than 5 words.
Yes, that would be even better, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. So yeah, I'm glad that that you're telling people that, Judith. That's exactly right.
Less than 5 words, and really. Here's the other thing. We're like 90 seconds from our first break, but I'm going to recommend all of you. I do this in my book publishing and book marketing unplugged event that I do every June. My 3-day event, which is just an intensive with me, and I bring a copy of the New York Times book review for everyone. Robin, I save them all year, and I bring a copy. And since I keep that class like at 35 people. So I bring that, and that it's one of the assignments, the activity is they have to study all the titles plus the description. And you will come up with this less than 5 words 90% of the time. The second thing, though, is because we do a whole segment on how to pitch your book, that they are fabulous in coming up with a synopsis of a book in a sentence, which is just about less than 12 words. And with that, we're going to go to our first break. With me is Robin Cutler, the brains behind IngramSpark. The show is for you.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorYou shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorYou brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorYou extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorYou's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorYou is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorYou is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorYou, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorYou today at AuthorYou.org.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, with me on this edition of AuthorYou, your guide to book publishing, is Robin Cutler, who really is a champion for the independent publisher and the author who wants to be seriously successful. And really what we're kissing on are some of the things that make us crazy about books that we see them that scream. And we're talking about screaming from the mountaintops that they're not professionally done. So Robin started off with the fact that there's not a title page on it. I see this all the time. There's not a copyright page, which is always stunning to me. And then she mentioned about the cover is either unreadable, it's either too big, too small. Robin, do you want to kiss on some of the sizes of the books? I mean, there's all kinds of sizes, but there's more of a new standard, I think now. It used to be the old standard when everything was 6x9.
Well, that is the dominant trim size for print books. It's still 6x9, but right there with it is slightly smaller, 5.5 by 8.5. And I especially like the new square sizes in children's books. Like there's an 8.5 by 8.5. I love that size. Mm-hmm. I think when you open it up, across the 2-page spread, it looks like a landscape, and it's small, for a child to be able to hold it comfortably, and I just think that's just a fantastic size. And
me too.
Go ahead.
No, I just was agreeing with you.
Yeah, and we're always introducing new trim sizes. The 4x6, 4 inches wide, and 6 inches tall. That's the smallest size that we do, but we also do a 5x7. We now can do a landscape like that is 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall, and then the opposite of that, 8.5 by 11 is the standard. So you have a lot of different choices. I will say that when you're working with a book designer or a cover designer, make sure you're working with someone who knows our requirements to, get a digitally certified file, processed through our system. Most professional designers, that we work with know this stuff, but and also make sure when you're working with a designer, and you alluded to this too, just Judith, that you're getting different covers for different types of your book. So, for instance, if you want a book with a dust jacket, make sure your designer's creating a dust jacket a paperback cover, an ebook cover. All of those different things are slightly different. And you know, you want to be able, at least maybe not initially, but at some point, you know, you want to be able to publish your book in different formats for, you know, the variety of readers that are out there. So make sure when you're working with a designer that you're getting the different, the formats that are, you know, available.
Right. So I think that all of you who are listening in, I know the designers we work with are familiar with IngramSpark, and that they know what specs to go for, whatever's being uploaded. And that's really why my preference is that when a book is ready to go, it's like, we have 2 books coming over to you, Robin, here within 24 hours, actually.
Oh, wow. Hey,
And
that's great.
that, yeah, from clients that we have finished on, and that I actually want the designers to do the uploading because they know what the problems are. They can handle them with your team instead of the poor, the beleaguered author who it might be just a tad confused with some of the quests that come back, or the questions, or the maybe challenges is what I'm going to say, that the designer knows how to handle in a nanosecond. So
yeah, well, it's a skill set for sure, and it's one thing that makes your book professional is that, you know, it is in a digital format that can then be uploaded into these various systems like an IngramSpark. Otherwise, you're going to, you know, if you try to do it yourself, or you try to create a file right out of Word, you just save your Word file as a PDF, that probably is not going to work, and you're just going to be frustrated. So in my view, you know, it helps, and it saves you a lot of frustration as an author if you find, you know, a really good designer, book designer that can help you through that.
Which is huge, you know.
It's huge. Yeah,
because
it's hard to write. I mean, we know as writers how hard that process is. And then, you know, the other pieces that you have to learn, you know, as a publisher, you know, these are things that you haven't done before. And, you know, I want you, and it does cost a little money, you know, to hire. I say if you want a professional book, hire professionals to help you with that book. It is an investment, but you know, it doesn't have to be something that is, you know, a huge investment, but I do want you to put your money, into cover design and also, into editing the book. We didn't talk about editing, but editing to me is one of the key pieces that you have to work with a professional to get a professionally edited book.
That would be an amen.
It's not enough to do spell check. That is not editing. It is, and it's also not a good idea to work with someone you're related to have them read your book. There's lots of places you can go to find an editor, even if you're doing a very specialized, like non-fiction book that, you know, about some certain topic. You can find editors to help you with that. You know, you can go to the Freelance Editors Association. There's websites, just Google it. You can find editors to help you, and it doesn't have to be expensive.
Yes, but I will say, everyone, make sure if you don't have a pre-existing relationship with an editor, you want to make sure that you're working with an editor who understands your genre, who understands what you're doing, and will honor your voice. I mean, that's really a bugaboo for me, Robin. I've seen some editors take things over, and it's a no-no in my book. That even if the author can't write, which we have seen. We've seen great ideas, and some authors just can't write, so they need a lot of help.
Yeah, and I came out of the academic world where you would think, you know, professors naturally know how to write.
No, you can't write.
Yes.
Ron Beach will tell you that when he came into my office, I said, "What were you thinking? what was this, your dissertation? And he says, the next thing I heard was a thud because you threw my manuscript on your floor. And what I did is I said, open up your computer. Mine's open, and I want you to tell me a story, and we're going to write this together. That's what we did. And you have printed his book. The Virtual Divide is in the Ingram umbrella.
Oh, good. Oh, great. So, that's a good title, too. I like that.
Well, he's an expert in remotes. That's what he does, is remote teams. So that's, and we have others to go. All right. So, Robin, what are some of the other things that might drive you crazy?
So let's see. The main thing is where people just don't know who the audience is for their book. And if you would think that's something that you've thought about, you spend all that time writing the book, you would think you've thought about your reader. And when you ask, well, who would be interested in this book? There's this total cluelessness about that. And, that's something that you definitely have to define. And it doesn't matter who you're working with. If you're working with a distributor or anybody in the book marketplace, you're going to have to define who is the audience for your book. And if you are doing a children's book, not only do you have to define the reader as a juvenile, you also have to fine-tune the age of the child and the grade of the child. So these are things that you should know as an author, and you should be very conscious about who your reader is. From the get-go. So, and it's not everybody. And it's not adult and children. I mean, maybe Harry Potter in the first book kind of bridged that, but but that's not typical. And it's not, and you have to know and think about it.
Well, I think you kind of hit on all my big ones. And really the who is the real one of the big ones. It is stunning to me that people don't get that if someone says to me every one is the kiss of death. You have not done any work. So, I think all of you, we're going to run into our next break, but it's really important to understand that. So these things that Robin's talking about, from the title, the copyright page, having a cover that just doesn't work, having a title that doesn't work. Keep it simple. Remember, the goldfish has 8-second, attention span. Most people don't. Oh my gosh. And
more.
Yeah, and you can be creative with your trim size, which I think is exciting. And actually, Robin, you said, and we're running into our break, but literally 4x6. I have a 4x6 book, and you couldn't print it at the time I came out with it. So now I'm excited. So there you go. All right, we'll be right back. It's AuthorYou, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, what I love about AuthorYou and when we do our show weekly is that it's like having a conversation. We're in our 5th year. Hard to believe we've never repeated one show, which is shocking to me. We don't do encores. We always do, one new show every week. So with that said, Robin's with us and she had one more. And I just thought, we have to add this one thing on. And it's not so much what's going to make us crazy, although it could make us crazy, because it's really going to tie in on what do you need to do to sell more books, I think. Robin, and it ties in with your setup, with your title and your authorship in the very beginning on the get-go, right?
Yes. So when you've created your book, you have your title, you have your digital, you work with a designer, you have your digital files, and, during the uploading of your book, you're asked for what we call metadata, which is all the book information. That includes the price of the book, the description, all of that. One of the things that we see that can really torpedo a book is so simple, and that's if the actual cover image with the title and with the author name, if they don't match perfectly with what you're setting up your book with the book information. So, for instance, if I work with my designer, she does my cover, and she has me listed as Robin Cutler. But when I'm setting up the book, I set up the author name as Robin A. Cutler. That is something that Amazon does not like. Apple doesn't like it. It just kind of confuses the marketplace, and it's just so simple to make sure that everything matched perfectly with the image of the book and the information about the book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it has to match. So if it's Robin Cutler, it better be Robin Cutler everywhere, period.
Robin Cutler everywhere. Yes, exactly. And the same with the title. We'll have people that, they won't put the V in there, or they'll be in the cover, but not in the book information. So,
do you want them to have the subtitle in it, Robin? Do you want the subtitle in there too?
I like subtitles. I think it helps define, what's actually in the book. And that needs to match too with whatever's on the cover. The subtitle, if it's on the cover of the book, it needs to match perfectly with what you list when you're setting up your title.
And
you're typing it in.
Yeah, here's something else to add why you want to have that subtitle in, especially for your nonfiction books, is that if you've come up with a killer one-word title, you probably desperately need the subtitle to really say what are the key words here we're looking for?
Yeah. And you got to think that your book, it's not only just humans finding your book on the internet, it's machines finding your book. Exactly. So they're looking at all this information about your book kind of in a collective sort of way. And that subtitle definitely helps to, it's almost like a long keyword string, right? And you want that subtitle to really focus in on what your book is about. It's really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Robin, what does IngramSpark do to let the book buying world know that you are an excellent online resource to find books?
Well, we actually have a program for booksellers themselves. We have a lot of booksellers now that are working with authors in their communities. The Tattered Cover in Denver there is a fantastic, one of the best bookstores really in the world. They have educational programs within the store, and we work with them on helping authors, learn all the same thing that you're teaching authors, how to work with a bookstore, how to learn how to be a publisher, how to use a bookstore as a resource in terms of bringing your book to market. So the IngramSpark name is fairly well known among the bookseller community because booksellers have been using Ingram, for years to order not only, a single author's book, but, all the Random House books and, all the Penguin books. And, that's where booksellers come to order across multiple publishers.
And that's important to really understand that. I think that I'll just say it. Ingram is really trusted. Bookstores like Ingram. They've been working on them for several years. This is me talking to all of you. I'm going to talk for Robin, and okay. And libraries trust Ingram when they're looking. So it's why we push under both AuthorYOU and the Book Shepherd. We push all of you to be on IngramSpark, because that even if you're going to do an offset printing run, and I always do an offset printing run, I still have books available on the POD because I don't really market aggressively to individual bookstores, but I want the ability for a bookstore to be able to access it and get books if someone says, can you get this book? And we'll be in the system. It's that simple.
Yeah, and you mentioned POD, which means print on demand. Right. And that is what Ingram really has honed in on the last 20 years now, Judith. Ingram started a print-on-demand company 20 years ago that was called Lightning Source. And Lightning Source today is still the state-of-the-art technology in print-on-demand. And the Ingram company and the Ingram family that owns Ingram, consistently invest in new and better technology for print on demand. And today, I think the quality is so good that it's hard to even differentiate it from traditionally printed books. But, there is a slightly higher unit cost for, a print on demand title. But what I love about print on demand for a new author is that, as a new author, you really don't know the size of your market. Until you put a book out there in the marketplace, you really don't know how many people are going to buy your book. And print on demand allows you to put a book out into the marketplace with just, your digital files. And the way it works is that, your book goes into the Ingram catalog when you choose to turn on what we call distribution. And that puts the book into the Ingram catalog just like a Random House book does. And so a bookseller, library can go to that Ingram catalog. They can find your book and then order it just like, any other book that's even in our inventory. There's nothing there that says that it's a print-on-demand book. It's actually printed when we get an order, and then we ship it out, directly back to that bookseller, to that library. And what's great about that is that you as a new author, you don't have to invest in all that inventory right from the get-go. You can see how it's going to go. If you've made mistakes, which is not uncommon for a new author, you can just correct those mistakes, and then every book that's printed after that, after you've uploaded the new digital file, all those books, will have the characteristics of that latest version, and you're not stuck with outdated inventory, or say you get a great endorsement by James Patterson. That might be something down the road you want to put on the cover of your book. That's important. You can you can add that to your cover file, and then every book after that will include that.
And which is terrific. And also, as you said, the sheer fact that you can go back and make a fine tweaking and redo it. And we actually have a book with you right now that I am making the author put a new cover on it. In fact, a new title, the cover, right? Because he kept thinking that my audience is only millennials, and I said, it's absolutely not. It's the 50 years and older up.
Oh, yeah.
Your title doesn't work with them. Let's do an experiment. Let's just do another experiment. You create a new file, new book. You got a new ISBN, which means because you have to change it because we're going to change the title and the cover. Yeah. So let's just do an experiment. Which I love being able to do that. Yes.
Oh, I love that too. Because how else do you know? That's real-time, real-world experiment, right?
You don't know that.
See. Yeah, you don't know that. You don't know what you don't know, really. Well, and as a new, and you learn a lot. You know this, Judith, as you go through the publishing experience, you really learn a lot. And from the very beginning, you don't know what you don't know.
All I can say, Robin, is I wish I knew what I knew now 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I first started down this path. And I don't know an author who doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. So and what's so great now, and this, we'll start working with a single book author. It's their work that, they're putting out into the marketplace. They learn the business of publishing, and before long, they become publishers of other people. So it's like this wellspring now of, book creativity that, is happening. And that's what makes me really excited about what we're doing. It's not just a single book author, but it's all of these people now that are creating legitimate businesses for themselves.
I know, and that's exciting. All right, we're going to come to our final break here, Robin. When we come back, I would love to kiss on a couple of things. One, what can they do more to sell books? I actually gave an idea to change the title. Also, let's talk about what's new at IngramSpark so people can know what to look for. All right, we'll be right back. It's Judith Briles. With me is Robin Cutler, the CEO brains behind IngramSpark.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, I'm very excited, besides having Robin Cutler here with me today. But I just got a great letter from the United States Patent and Trademark Office that we're doing a rebranding, and AuthorYOU, which was the letter U, is now going to become AuthorYOU, Y-O-U, and the official trademark came in today. U is all capped, and I really love it more because it's inclusive, and it really is all about the author, you and you. And versus just always educational or just like a university, I like the more personal touch. That's me.
I like that. That's great.
Yeah. But anyway, it's official. It's official as of today.
Congratulations.
So now we have to do all the rebranding that we go along with it. Okay. So when we left Robin at the last, we were talking about the marvels of print on demand, POD. And what you can do. And as I was just sharing the story about a client in a pivot, we are turning and creating. We came up with a new title, the new covers being done. We've actually gone through the interior of the book to replace it wherever the title of the book was, to replace it with the new title. Everything else is just fine. And the beauty of being able to do that really in a heartbeat versus something that could be agony is stunning. And it's all because of print on demand. So that's very cool.
Yeah, and I will just kind of echo that, Judith. You need to, as an author, people tend to think of their total work, right? This whole book, and it's helpful to think about your book in pieces, especially when you go to start trying to sell it or to market it or to build your reader, a group of readers that are interested in your work. So I'll give you a story of this. One of our top-selling books on IngramSpark is by a poet. His name is Robert Drake, and he's known as the poet of Instagram. And the way Robert started was, he just naturally is a very creative person. He would type his poems on old-fashioned paper on an old-fashioned typewriter, and then take pictures of those pages and then post them on Instagram. And any writer can do this with any parts of their book, right? So your book has even more visual components to it than you even realize. And so now he has, through doing this over the years, he now has like 1.6 million followers on Instagram, and he does really well as the publisher of his own content. And so I just want to just throw that out, just think about other creative and graphical ways that you can present your book in pieces and parts that help you sell it. Does that make sense?
I mean, I think that's exciting. Some people have asked me, would I publish with New York again? 18 of my 36 books have been with New York publishers. And the odds are probably no, I wouldn't. Because that once you learn, and really what Robin and I are talking about is that this is a business. Publishing is a business. And even if you're starting on the small side, without thinking of printing thousands and thousands of books at a time. No, I'm just happy to do it this, little bit, and I order maybe 100 when I need them, and I can get my costs down and do all, but I can be in control. That's huge, huge. And there were 4 components, Robin, why I really started looking serious at this. One was the quality. And I really felt that I could match the quality. You advise people from the get-go, go and pull professionally published books by the big 5 off your bookshelf and take a look at them. All the resources are out there. We can do this. We can do this.
Exactly. And I think the secret, and you already know this, Judith, because you do this naturally with everything in all your dealings with authors. But the secret to most successful authors is the connection that they have with their readers, and it's a sacred connection to them, and they nurture it. And it's not just throwing stuff out there. I mean, it really does matter in that connection, and a lot of people do it really, really well, where, they and this is where social media really does matter and makes it a lot easier than, when there were gatekeepers in the marketplace. Today, you can go direct to your readers, and you can find, people that are interested in what you're doing.
Which is always fun. To me, that's the fun part. All right, so let's give them some tips on what they need to do to sell more books.
So we talked about the title. That's number 1. The cover. Well, probably those two things together are the number 1 and 2. Really matter.
Having the right title and the right cover. Okay.
Yes. And then thinking about all the information about your book, making sure that information is correct and that it's enticing. So, for instance, when you think about your author bio, and I'm bad about this too. I'll just admit it. But when you write your author bio, you want to be you want to be factual, but you also want to be enticing. So maybe throw a little bit of whimsy in there. Make it fun. Make it more fun than just the dotted or bulleted list of your career path. And the same on the description of your book. Make sure, that it is, that it's not just dry, that it's actually, pulls people in and, makes people want to plunk down $15, $20 to learn more and read more, It really matters. Those 2 things really matter. Thinking about where your book would be shelved in a bookstore or on a library shelf. You need to really know these things so that when I ask you, when you're setting up your book in IngramSpark, and I say, what's the subject code of your book, that means where would this book be shelved on somebody's shelf? You've got to know these things and pay attention to it. And I think those things and we call all of that stuff collectively the metadata. The metadata, like I said before, has to be, discovered by not only humans, but also by machines. And so the human part is the whimsical, the part that's very creative. The machine part is making sure you've got those words in there that a machine can find your book amongst all the other millions of books on the internet.
And I'm just going to give a plug for IngramSpark here. One of the great things about IngramSpark is they have a huge metadata field. When you are filling this up, you're not limited to 200 characters. You really have the ability to get some good descriptors in for your book. So Robin didn't mention that, but I will.
Oh, and I thank you for that, Judith. And I will say too that it matters how your description looks. So in IngramSpark, we actually have a little editing tool in there where you can highlight. I especially encourage you to highlight the first line of your description and put it in boldface, and that you break up your paragraphs. You have space between paragraphs, so it's not just one long huge thing that when somebody just looks at it, they go, oh, well, I don't want to read that much.
Do they need
And
coding?
Highlight.
Robin, do they need coding for that?
Actually, the editing tool does the coding for you. So all you have to do is highlight. You can italicize and put in spaces, and it's all done for you within the editing tool.
Yeah, because you're going to make me go back in and look at all mine because I don't remember seeing a highlighting tool and all that. So I gotta go fix it.
You got to go back. Yeah. And that's the other thing. You should keep your metadata fresh. So if you win an award, if you get a great endorsement, you get a great review, make sure you go back and update that into your book metadata, into your book information in your book record. And that's really important too.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's talk about a little bit more about IS, just about your website.
Mm-hmm. You find us at www.ingramspark.com. Mm-hmm. IngramSpark, Spark is one word, IngramSpark. And we have we have all kinds of information there. You mentioned our IngramSpark Academy before. Those are free courses that you can take. It takes about an hour, I think, and we're always adding more courses. It takes about an hour for each of these courses, and it will give you the basics of what you need to know to be an author and be a publisher. We have a podcast now, like Judith has here, that's called Go Publish Yourself. There's a lot of free information up there, so I encourage you to kind of check out the website. It's free to set up an account and just kind of have access to information, even as you're writing your book, which I think is really important. And so you go there. You can follow us on Facebook. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, which I would love, it's at RCutlerSpark, SPARK. And that's how you find me on Twitter.
There you go. So they've got tons of resources. So I'm just going to encourage all of you to play around a little bit. And, when I'm working on a book, I always go to the IngramSpark print calculator to immediately give me an idea of what the cost factor is, so I know what my ranges are. I mean, you're kind of my benchmark.
Oh, good.
One
of the things we're hard at, and actually we've been working on this for over a year, Judith, is we are actually redesigning the entire IngramSpark website. And we're doing this just to make it easier to navigate our site. I mean, we know it's not perfect and it's a challenge for some people. So we want to just make it easier. So after the first of the year, you'll start to see changes to the website throughout probably the middle part of 2019. We're really, really excited about some of the new features that you'll start to see there. So, if you've been on our site in the past, definitely come back and take a look.
And there you go. All right, everyone. Robin Cutler, IngramSpark.com. Make that part of your author success toolkit. This is AuthorYou, your guide to book publishing. We'll be back with you next month.
Thank you for being a part of your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week,